We're back now with more on the second big court case of the day, the plea deal of Bryan Kohberger. He was expected to go to trial next month, but today he pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder. Correction, he pleaded guilty for the deadly stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students. This happened back in November of 2022. Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Carnoodle, and Ethan Chapin were found dead in an off-campus house. Kohberger was arrested weeks later. He was linked to their deaths after his DNA was found on a knife sheath inside the home. Joining us tonight live in Boise, Idaho is NBC's Jay Gray. Jay, walk us through what happened during today's hearing where Kohberger changed his plea.
Yeah, and Glenn, you know, this is a case that from the beginning has had so much attention, so much surrounding all of this. Today, the hearing here, brief. It was really little more than legal procedure until, for the first time, Bryan Kohberger, as you talked about, admitted to the violent killing of 4 college students. For some family members of those victims, that admission still just wasn't enough.
The murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Bryan Kohberger staring blankly at the judge, admitting for the first time he viciously stabbed to death 4 University of Idaho students.
The first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Video streamed from inside the courtroom doesn't show the sobbing friends and family of the victims.
He did that with the intent to kill.
But those cameras did capture the emotion of Prosecutor Bill Thompson when sharing details of the case for the judge to consider during sentencing, mentions their names.
He then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Carnoodle.
Kaylee Gonsalves' father was not in the courthouse, outraged at the plea deal and what he says was the lack of input from victims' families during the process.
We didn't agree on any of it. He only negotiated with the murderer of our children. That was the only person that he negotiated with. He didn't give us the common courtesy to negotiate with us.
More than 2.5 years after the murders, the pain still overwhelming. The off-campus apartment where the attacks took place is gone. Plaques and balloons, a small memorial where it once stood. It's summer break for the University of Idaho, but for many, there is no break from the fear and loss after what happened here.
Never really locked my doors at night before, and I have ever since. Well, I think the town is healing, but I don't think it'll ever be the same.
Sentencing for Kohberger is set for July 23rd. Yeah, and look, even with the plea deal, the judge does have the latitude to lower the sentence, though no one thinks that that is going to happen, no one at all. As part of the sentencing, though, family members will get the chance to address Kohberger directly during victim statements. So that's going to be surely a very dramatic and, for many, Glenn, a very emotional time.
Jay, I've read reports that Kohberger's parents were in the courtroom today. Did you get a feel for their reaction to their son's admission?
Well, Glenn, what they've said, and they said this immediately after it was announced that there would be a change to his plea, that they are requesting their privacy, that they are going to let the legal system play out, and that they wouldn't be speaking on this. We have, as you know, in the past, heard them say that they feel for and are praying for the victims' families, but otherwise, no, there's really been no discussion from Kohberger's family to this point.
Jay Gray live for us tonight in Boise. Thank you. Back with us here in the studio is Morgietta and Sue. Thank you both for sticking with us. I guess I wanted to get your reactions to what happened today in Boise. I know that we were close to getting this trial started. There were even reports of a third-party culprit defense that they were putting together, and now here we are.
This is a win for the prosecution because this trial could go on just as long as the Karen Read or even longer. And we know how exhausting that is for jurors, how it is for the family, putting witnesses on the stand and having them relay and relive these instances in their lives. It's a win by having accomplished Mr. Kohberger getting a life sentence without the possibility of parole, so he'll never see the light of day again. The only thing that you can I guess, frowned upon is the fact that he's not going to get the death penalty. But this is an absolute win for the prosecution, and it gives justice to the families that, unfortunately, he's taking responsibility for the actions that he did.
So, I understand the reaction the families are having.
I was going to ask you about that.
And I take them at their word. I bet there probably could have been better communication between the prosecution team and the families to talk about this. But the reason we have a justice system, right, is because if that had happened to my child, I would want vengeance. I would hunt him down. I would want the worst possible thing to happen to him. And the reason we have a justice system is to make sure we're a civilized society. And a plea bargain in this case saves the taxpayers money. It saves his life, which you could agree or disagree about. But at the same time, it gives the punishment that's appropriate to the crime. And it takes the vengeance and the passion out of it from the families and puts it on the government to do. And so I both feel terrible for the families, but at the same time, this is why we have a justice system. And to Morgietta's point, this is a win for society.
All right, let's talk more broadly just about the coverage of these trials in general. Kohberger, Diddy, Karen Reed, all of the internet attention around the trial watching seems to have an impact on what happens in the courtroom. Are we okay with that?
I am very excited that people are actually getting into these stories, because for a very long time, people just did not know what happened inside of a courtroom, what the judge's role was, how much control of the prosecution has. And I think that now that we have these cases live and in people's faces, I don't think it's going to affect the courtroom. As you can see, Diddy was found guilty on some charges. Karen Reed was found guilty on a charge. So the jurors are still doing their job, but the people, the society, we are actually seeing education on a completely different level that we haven't seen in years. And as a defense attorney, it's exciting because people are getting into the law, and you should. It could literally happen to any of us or any of our family members. And I'm grateful for the internet and YouTube University and all, and NBC 10, of course, for educating people.
So we talked about this
Yeah,
today,
you know
Glenn.
what? There's one stumbling block here, because I know in the Diddy trial, for example, there were one of the people covering it on YouTube who accidentally outed somebody who was supposed to be anonymous inside the courtroom.
Right.
They don't operate under the same rules.
Right. So there's a couple of things that have to happen. The offices in each state that control the press access have to make sure that just sending an email out to someone saying, here are the rules of how you cover a court case, it has, because some people just have never done it before. Don't mean to do it on purpose, but they're sloppy. Things happened during the Karen Reed trial as well. So the rules have to be sent out there. But also, listen, people can vote. They can watch what they see. If they get outraged about it, most of these people answer to an elected official or are an elected official. So if you're watching these trials and you're outraged, vote.
Thank you very much, Morgietta and Sue. As always, your insight is so valuable. Thanks very much for joining us tonight at 7.